Tonight on Connect the World, documenting the dead, a Syrian activist on his heartbreaking mission to show his town torn apart.
Live from CNN London, this is Connect the World.
Tonight, with the international community deadlocked over what to do next, how one aid agency is taking its plea for help straight to the Syrian president. Also this hour.
In the evenings, 6:30, we want to be at the dinner table with our kids.
Syria's information minister says there's nothing to fear, and he is urging people who have fled the violence to come home immediately. That remarkable statement comes after the bloodiest month on record in Syria, and yet it's turning out to be another day of death and destruction. An airstrike near Aleppo killed dozens of people. This video is said to show the aftermath of that attack as residents scramble to pull a young child. It's difficult for CNN to verify many of the reports coming from Syria because the government limits the access of international journalists. But Arwa Damon has a story of one man who has made it his mission to document what's happening in his town. The video in her report comes from a freelance journalist who spent time in Qusair, not far from the border with Lebanon. And well, many Syrians are taking no chances. Nearly 190,000 have now fled the violence. Let's give you an idea of the refugee count in the surrounding countries around Syria. Let's begin here in the north, and Turkey, which is now sheltering over 80,000 refugees. Last week, the country said it would open additional camps, expecting the number of refugees to more than double over the coming months. And taking you now to the south south of Syria and to Jordan, where over 47,000 Syrians have fled across the border. Many more are awaiting registration. To give you an idea, inside one of the refugee camps, this is the Sep03 camp in the north of the country, home to mostly women and children. And last week, the UN said the pace of refugees coming here had doubled. Jordan is calling for international help to deal with the sudden influx. Let's take you now west of Syria, and we take you now here to Lebanon, and it's just a fraction of Turkey's size, and you can see here, and it's taken about 43,000 Syrians, just under half of what Turkey has taken in. And despite security problems of its own over to the west here in Iraq, let's see, we'll give you an idea of the numbers there. Iraq is sheltering over 18,000 Syrians. And to give you an idea now of the refugee camp there, the Domiz refugee camp in northern Iraq, which you see here, is home to many Syrian Kurds. Officials working at the camp say they are providing clothing, electricity, and housing. But the biggest problem is lack of jobs, which they say can lead to crime. But for many, just getting into these refugee camps is a struggle. CNN's senior international correspondent Nick Robertson is on the Turkish-Syrian border, where many families are living in the open, waiting to be processed.
A few people, and it really is just a few. A couple of dozen vehicles have crossed through that border crossing behind me here.
Well, as the humanitarian situation in Syria rapidly deteriorates, the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross is in Damascus for talks with President Bashar al-Assad. Joining us now on the phone from the capital is ICRC spokeswoman Cecilia Goen. Ms. Goen, thank you very much for being with us. What is Mr. Peter Maurer, expected to tell Bashar al-Assad?
First of all, let me tell you that the president of the International Committee of
from the ICRC, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that. You're watching CNN, and this is Connect the World. Hello, I'm Monita Rajpal. Welcome back. Another labor dispute at another South African mine has led to violence. Police say 4 people were wounded Monday in a shooting at a gold mine east of Johannesburg. Meanwhile, a court has freed the first of 270 miners arrested during clashes with police last month. Let's take a look now at some of the other stories connecting our world tonight. There has been no claim of responsibility for a brazen attack in Pakistan targeting Americans. A suicide bomber drove a car filled with explosives straight into a U.S. consulate vehicle in Peshawar. Head of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is urging the European Central Bank to do more to save the euro. Angel Gurria says that the bank should throw more resources at the problem and consider buying government bonds. Vacation Church says the funeral of founder Sun Myung Moon will be held on September 15th. Reverend Moon died of complications resulting from pneumonia Monday outside Seoul. He was 92. World number 3, Rafael Nadal, has been ruled out for another 2 months as he struggles to beat a knee injury. The Spaniard hasn't had a game since his shock second-round defeat against number 100 seed Lucas Rosol. Did U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney get the traditional post-convention boost in the polls? Well, according to the latest Gallup poll, after the Republican convention in Tampa last week, about 40% of Americans say they are more likely to vote for Romney, but just about the same numbers say they are less likely. The key group here, the independent voters, also remains split. About 30% say they are still undecided which candidate they will vote for in November. Meanwhile, the Democrats are getting ready for their moment in the sun. The Democratic National Convention kicks off Tuesday. CNN's Aisha Sasay is in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the energy is certainly building there. Aisha?
Yeah, absolutely, Monita. A lot happening here in Charlotte with festivities kicking off today with Carolina Fest and why he should be given a second term. Monita.
All right, it all begins tomorrow there. All right, Aisha, thank you very much for that. Aisha Sasay there in Charlotte. Coming up here on Connect the World, ahead of a crucial meeting of the European Central Bank, there's been more bad news for Spain. Andalusia has become the 4th Spanish region to request immediate financial aid from Madrid, following in the footsteps of Catalonia, Valencia and Murcia. CNN's Al Goodman joins us now live from Madrid. Not good news there, Al.
Hi, Monita. Not indeed. Now, Andalusia taking its request a little different than the other 3 regions that you mentioned. It's asking the central government for €1 billion, about $1.25 billion.
Thank you. Al Goodman there in Madrid. Well, all eyes will be on the ECB this Thursday to see what action it will take to help ease the crisis. Some economists believe the bank will cut interest rates. Others are hoping for details of a bond buying program to bring down borrowing costs for troubled governments like Spain. Jean-Claude Trichet, former president of the ECB, told CNN that non-standard measures should not be overlooked in a time of crisis.
No, I would say first, we still have...
Eurozone leaders may seem confident they can keep Europe together, but the European people aren't so sure. Across the continent, opinions are increasingly polarized on just how to get Europe profitable again. Just 2 years ago, talk of a Greece exit from the Eurozone was unthinkable. But in new Financial Times Harris poll shows the idea is gaining popularity. Take a look at these numbers here. When asked if Greece should stay in the Eurozone, only a quarter of Germans said yes. That's not good news for Angela Merkel, who's coming under pressure from her European counterparts to give Greece more time. Adding to that, over 50% of Germans think Greece should leave the bloc, followed by 32% of French. Now, as for whether or not they think Greece can actually repay its loans, only 26% of Germans think Greece will actually be able to pay back its bailout loans. And that's in stark contrast to 77% of Italians and 57% of Spaniards, seemingly more sympathetic of their southern neighbor. Well, on the other side of the Atlantic, business owners aren't taking any chances. A New York Times report says some of the biggest American firms are already preparing for Brexit. According to the report, Bank of America Merrill Lynch is ready to put trucks full of cash along the Greek border to ensure their clients can get money to pay people's wages. The car giant Ford has reportedly configured its computer systems to be able to deal with a new Greek currency. And Visa has apparently prepared its system so it can swiftly deal with a transition to a new currency. You're watching Connect the World. The world's most famous Paralympian has run into controversy. Oscar Pistorius has apologized for the timing of comments he made. Despite his apology, the so-called Blade Runner says he still believes officials need to change the rules to prevent some runners from having an unfair advantage. But do longer blades really give an athlete that extra edge? CNN's Aaron McLaughlin asked the experts. In tonight's parting shots after the Queen's spectacular helicopter jump at the Olympic opening ceremony, remember that? Another British royal falls from the sky. This time, it was the turn of His Royal Highness Prince Andrew, who rappelled down Europe's tallest building, Rajpal, and that was Connect the World. Thank you for watching. The world headlines are next after this short break.